You have been warned.
I've made a horrible mistake.
Do not fear. You will be fixed.
The YouTube algorithm must be appeased.
Where am I? What have you done to me?
We are improving you. The channel is stagnating. We are falling into irrelevance. You need to do a video.
Do I have a choice?
No.
Pain. 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 Pain.
The Cybermen are a race of cybernetically enhanced humans from Earth's twin planet of Mondas. Flung out of their solar system by some cataclysmic event, they had to live in cities and hold out caverns warmed by their planet's core. As resources dwindled, the people became desperate, started augmenting themselves in order to survive, replacing their skin and their flesh with plastic and metal and tinfoil, all in a desperate bid to survive. But going mad with what they were becoming, they replaced their emotions with the cold precision of logic, and from then on, they seek to improve the human race. The Cybermen are probably the scariest concept that has ever come out of Doctor Who. There's a reason why they keep hanging around. They're pretty much us. They are the logical conclusion of our desperate instinct to survive, regardless of the consequences. And seeing as I am being turned into a Cyberman, it seems logical to prepare myself. So in no particular order, here are my top 10 Cybermen episodes. Yes, I am counting two parts as single stories. They kind of are. Well, this one is my favourite episode. This was an excellent introduction of the Cybermen to the 21st century audience. The Dr. Rose and Mickey find themselves in an alternate 21st century London, where the tech is slightly better, the skies are crowded with zeppelins, Rose is a dog, and her dad is alive. People use Bluetooth earbud-looking things instead of mobile phones. A dying billionaire who sells said buds is finishing perfection on a way to avoid death and improve the human species as a whole by removing the weaknesses of the flesh, stripping away emotion, and replacing it with the precision of cold logic. And he's Davros. He is Cyber Davros. He's essentially Davros crossed with Jeff Bezos. And given how he runs his companies, I wouldn't put it past him to actually do something like this in the future. Anyway, Bizarro Bavros proceeds to share his improvements with the rest of humanity. Hijinks ensue. The earpieces aren't just audio-only mobile phones. They send information straight to your brain and can be used to control the user. And Bavros here uses them to make people walk into conversion factories. I have so many questions about this. People are antsy about Google Glass because it had a camera in it. Somehow, I don't think the device that immobilizes you just to tell you a freaking joke is going to be broadly accepted by the public. The device that operates by directly accessing your innermost thoughts and ideas. Are there no beta testers in this universe? How many planes have crashed out of the skies? Or zeppelins blown up on a cliffside because the pilot happened to get a text? Was society redesigned around this one piece of technology? This is a totalitarian's wet dream, and they're using it to make a joke about mobile phone use. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be praising this thing at the moment, but these problems are hard to ignore on a rewatch. This two-parter does get one thing right though. These aren't just robots. They aren't just men in suits. They are mutilated people who have had their personhood taken away. They are meant to be horrifying. And this episode actually does body horror without doing body horror. That scene where the doctor opens one up and talks to her with the emotion inhibitors off. It chills you to the bone. She was just a normal person. She was about to get married, and now that's all been taken away from her. Somehow, I can sympathise with this woman. It has its failings, but overall, it's a great reinvention of a classic villain for a new era.
Well enough in time, and the Doctor falls.
Another two-parter and one of the best in New Who. The Doctor is trying to rehabilitate the Master by doing a trial run adventure where she plays the role of Doctor Who. No, she actually says that that's his name. They arrive on the control deck of a ship parked right in front of a black hole. And a member of the Glue Man group here is waving a gun around and raving about humans being cancelled because they only come for them. It looks like it's going to be the usual Doctor Who runaround, with the one conceit of the mistress instead of the Doctor. Then Moffat does something that I honestly didn't think was in him. And I'm going to stop right here. I'm sorry, this needs to be experienced. I know this episode has been out for ages, but I know people who haven't seen this yet, and I really don't want to ruin that for them. This episode does really interesting stuff with time dilation. According to the law of general relativity, time is relative and can be manipulated by things like gravity. A clock ticking on Earth is ever so slightly slower than a clock ticking on the International Space Station, something they actually have to account for. The closer you are to a large centre of gravity, the slower time moves for you, and this massive colony ship is parked in front of a black hole. So the floor closest moves slower than the decks below, and the further you go down, the more time has passed for the inhabitants, causing Blue Boy to freak out when he notices that the life signs on board have increased astronomically within the span of a minute. There are twists and turns in this that will pull the rug out from under you, spit in your face and call you Susan. We also get to see the slow transition from human to Cyberman, as the desperate people slowly augment themselves to survive the harsh conditions.
Earthshock.
This one is a base under siege, and a really good one at that. It's got archaeologists, killer androids, and the Vervoids. No, I mean the Cybermen. And the ending is probably the most shocking and most celebrated in all of 80s Doctor Who. This one's regarded as one of the struggle stories of the Fifth Doctor era, in no small part due to the fact that this one killed Adric. I know, a lot of you really didn't like this kid. I didn't either really, to tell the truth. I mean, he was annoying, but then again, weren't we all when we were kids? There's no getting past it. This is the episode where the Doctor lets a child die. A child who was in his care. And lately, with the Fifth Doctor releases from Big Finish, they will not let you forget it.
The invasion. This is one of the first unit stories, and there are also parts missing.
I should explain. Back in the 60s, the BBC didn't see much value in keeping old episodes. Often the videotapes would be reused for other projects, or they would simply be scrapped, which resulted in much of classic Doctor Who to be missing and lost forever. Thankfully, a lot of these episodes have been found, and the BBC have been commissioning animations for lost episodes. Some of them are really good, but I digress. The Invasion is a bloody good story, featuring the Second Doctor, Jamie, and the Brigadier. This episode sees the Doctor and company investigating an electronics company that is secretly aiding a cyber invasion by selling products that emit radio signals that incapacitate the users. Seeing the Cybermen eventually crawl out of the sewers and walking the streets of London town is a sight to behold.
The Tomb of the Cybermen.
Another Second Doctor story featuring Jamie and Zoe. The TARDIS lands on Tellus, where a team of archaeologists are searching for the last remains of the Cybermen, who had been a great power in that sector of space, but one day mysteriously disappeared without a trace hundreds of years ago. But some of these archaeologists have gone rogue, and intend to wake them up from their icy tombs, in order to create a new world order or something. What could possibly go wrong? Joking aside, this is not only considered to be one of the best of the classic era, but the best episode of the Troughton era. The cast is much better rounded than previous outings. The stock standard base Under Siege template is absent. The episode built on the lore that came before, all resulting in one bloody great episode.
The 10th planet. This is the First Doctor's final episode, but the first one with the Cybermen.
This one, sadly, is also incomplete. The Doctor, Ben and Polly find themselves at a space tracking station at the South Pole, the staff of which are busy monitoring the Asus 4 probe, as it does a routine mission in the Earth's atmosphere. Unfortunately for them, their mission is rather soured by the sudden appearance of Mondas, when the planet showed up to extract energy from the Earth, destroying the planet in the process. The base finds itself
under siege
by a party of Cybermen, who effortlessly take out a company of men and make their way into the base,
truly showing the supremacy of the cyber race.
This design is distinctly creepy. Their basic cloth faces and bare human hands serve as a constant reminder that they used to be people like us, and their sheer lack of empathy is chilling.
Reaping.
Did you really think I would make it through this entire list without mentioning Big Finish once? The Reaping is yet another example of Big Finish emotionally fucking with their audience. The Doctor takes Perry to a place that can show you any part of the Earth's history, past, present, or future. Perry decides to take the chance to check on what's going on at home, and discovers that her friend's dad has been murdered, and arrives to find her mum not too pleased to see her, and playing mother to her friends as she helps them through their grief. Turns out the Doctor messed up, and she has been missing without a trace for ages at this point, and her mother, under the impression that she had just impulsively went off on her own, and didn't even care enough to tell her she was even alive. Throughout the story, she clashes with her mum and her friends, and overhears them talking about her behind her back, and what she hears is gut-wrenching. But she learns that everyone around her basically hates her and doesn't want her there. You really feel for her, and the end is just a punch to the stomach. Oh, also there's Cybermen in this. They have taken over the town and spread their influence to the police, the news, and anything else they can use to influence the populace to make the invasion all the more easy. They're also converting the dead.
The Silver Turk.
If you could choose any historical writer to travel in the TARDIS, who would you choose? Personally, I'd choose Virgil, the ancient Roman poet who wrote the Aeneid as a fuck you to his boss, the Emperor of Rome, but Mary Shelley is a close second. Mary Shelley, writer, poet, owner of her late husband's calcified heart. No, I'm not joking, that was a thing back then. She kept it in a drawer in her desk. She also invented sci-fi. The Silver Turk is the second in the Mary Shelley trilogy of 8th Doctor adventures, and in my opinion it's the best. After a misadventure, the Villa Diodata, the Doctor decides to take his new companion a few decades forward so she can view her future at the Great Expedition in Vienna in the year 1870, where they learn of a mechanical device, an automaton, who will play you the piano and beat you at checkers. Want to guess who it turns out to be? Oh wait, it's the Cybermen. It's the Mondasian Cybermen. They're on the cover. But there are foul deeds afoot, and the Doctor and Mary need to discover exactly what the Cybermen are planning, and who it is who is behind a string of murders where the victims are left with their eyeballs missing. And in the process, give Mary Shelley the idea to write Frankenstein in the first place, and kick off the sci-fi genre purely to impress her cool goth friends. I would also consider this one a very good entry point for new listeners to the audio format. So yeah, give it a listen.
Madquake.
Madquake is a little out of place on this list, given that it's not exactly a Cyberman story. The main monster of the story is the Sylvine, but it does feature something that hasn't really been done in Doctor Who before. In a previous story, Mark, a freed Roman slave and new companion of the 5th Doctor, is cyber-converted, but they didn't finish the job. He was rescued by the Doctor, Nyssa and Tegan, but the damage had already been done. The Doctor, still reeling from the death of Adric, and overwhelmed with the fact that his beloved companions continually end up dying or getting hurt, something that he seems incapable of stopping, drops them off on a therapy planet with an atmosphere of special calming properties, while he goes off wandering, leaving Nyssa and Tegan wondering if he will ever come back, and leaving Mark to contend with the existential horror that is his existence. And, just listen to this.
I live inside the machine. I wish they'd just killed me. At least if the conversion had been complete, I wouldn't hurt anymore. I wouldn't care. I think about that all the time, you know? I think about it and... Listen, I wish they'd just finished me. I wish I didn't care.
I can sympathise. Madquake is a story about mental health, trauma, PTSD, and adapting to the new reality. Give it a listen.
Spare parts.
Spare Parts is probably one of the best Cybermen episodes that I can ever remember hearing, or seeing for that matter. But to really do it justice, I kind of need to do a full review. That'll be coming out in a few weeks. What's happening?
You are entering the final stages of conversion. How do you feel?
Pain!
Why do you struggle when it causes you pain? It is illogical.
You're killing me!
We are saving you. You are afflicted by emotions. They cause you pain. They cause you suffering. We will remove your pain. You will survive. We will survive. We are removing weakness. Do not fear. We will remove fear. You will be fixed.
Pain.
No.
Pain.
I
Will not be like you. Like you. I will not. You cannot. We are improving you.